What happens when one of music's most legendary icons comes face to face with late-night television's most controversial host? You won't believe what unfolds when Cher's appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live turns into an absolute powder keg of accusations, political warfare, and pure Hollywood drama that ends with security being called to the studio. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because you're not going to believe what unfolds when these two titans clash in what witnesses are calling the most explosive confrontation in late-night history. The tension was palpable from the moment Cher stepped onto the Jimmy Kimmel Live stage. What started as casual banter quickly transformed into a verbal battlefield when Kimmel decided to push boundaries that should never have been crossed. The legendary performer, known for her decades of activism and outspoken political views, found herself under attack in ways that left the studio audience stunned into silence. "So Cher, you've been pretty vocal about supporting various causes," Kimmel began with that trademark smirk that regular viewers know all too well. "But don't you think at your age, maybe it's time to step back and let younger voices take the lead?" The question hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Cher's expression immediately shifted, her eyes narrowing as she processed what had just been said to her face on national television. "Excuse me, Jimmy? At my age," her voice carried a dangerous edge that anyone familiar with her fiery personality would recognize as a warning sign. But Kimmel, seemingly oblivious to the storm he was brewing, pressed forward with reckless abandon. "I mean, you're what, pushing 80 now? Don't you think your political opinions might be a little outdated? The world has changed a lot since your heyday." The audience began shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Even the usually boisterous crowd seemed to sense that something had gone terribly wrong. Cher leaned forward in her chair, her legendary composure beginning to crack under the weight of such blatant disrespect. "My heyday?" she repeated, her voice rising with each word. "Jimmy, I've been fighting for civil rights, LGBTQ+ equality, and social justice since before you were even born. While you were learning to walk, I was using my platform to make real change in this world." Rather than backing down or attempting to defuse the situation, Kimmel doubled down with what can only be described as career suicide. "But isn't that exactly the problem? You're stuck in the past, fighting yesterday's battles. Maybe it's time for someone more relevant to take the microphone." The studio fell into an eerie silence. Camera operators exchanged worried glances, and producers in the booth could be seen frantically gesturing, clearly trying to signal Kimmel to change direction. But the damage was already done, and Cher was just getting started. "More relevant?" She stood up from her chair, towering over the suddenly smaller-looking host. "Jimmy, I've sold over 100 million records worldwide, won an Academy Award, a Grammy, an Emmy, and 3 Golden Globes. I've headlined Las Vegas for decades, and my farewell tour grossed over $250 million. What exactly have you accomplished besides making jokes at other people's expense?" Kimmel's face flushed red as he realized he had awakened a sleeping giant. "Look, Cher, I didn't mean to." "No, you meant every word," she interrupted, her voice now carrying the full force of decades of experience dealing with dismissive men in Hollywood. "You brought me on this show not to celebrate my career or discuss my current projects, but to patronize me and suggest I should disappear because I don't fit your narrow definition of relevance." The confrontation reached a boiling point when Kimmel made his fatal mistake. "Maybe if you focused less on Twitter rants and more on your music, people might take you more seriously." The words had barely left his mouth when Cher exploded. "Twitter rants? Twitter rants? I use my platform to speak truth to power, to defend marginalized communities, and to call out injustice wherever I see it. That's not ranting, Jimmy. That's called having a backbone, something you clearly know nothing about." She began removing her microphone, her movements sharp and deliberate. I've sat through decades of interviews with small-minded men who think they can diminish women by questioning our relevance, our age, or our right to have opinions. I won't sit here and let you disrespect me or the millions of fans who have supported me throughout my career. Kimmel, now visibly panicking as he watched his show spiral completely out of control, made one last desperate attempt at damage control. Cher, please, let's just... Don't you dare Cher please me, she snapped, dropping the microphone onto the chair with a thud that echoed through the silent studio. This interview is over. I've dealt with better men than you, having worse days than this, and I'm not about to waste another second of my time on your pathetic attempt at relevance. As security appeared at the edges of the stage, clearly unsure whether they were supposed to intervene or simply watch the carnage unfold, Cher delivered her final, devastating blow. You want to know what's outdated, Jimmy? It's your tired, misogynistic approach to interviewing women. It's your belief that you can tear down icons to make yourself feel bigger, and it's your complete lack of respect for the very people who made your career possible. With that, the legendary performer stormed off the stage, leaving behind a stunned host, a bewildered audience, and what will undoubtedly go down as one of the most spectacular meltdowns in late-night television history. The cameras continued rolling as Kimmel sat alone at his desk, the weight of his catastrophic miscalculation written all over his face, while Cher's exit music played to an empty chair and a studio full of witnesses to an absolutely unprecedented disaster